Welcome to the Late Show. I'm, of course, your host, David O'Brien. Tonight, we'll have Wendy the Wasp Whisperer. She's going to join us on the show a little bit later on and tell us why wasps act the way they do. While Bill will be back, this time he's bringing his untrained alligator family, which I do have concerns about. But before all that, I do have a very special guest. Her name is Maddie Dev. She's here about her new feature film. Maddie.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for joining. Please have a seat. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I heard you turned down Jimmy and Jimmy to be on this show.
Both Jimmys, Dave.
Wow.
For you.
I am flattered. That's never happened before and probably will never happen again. Now, before we get to the reason you're here, I heard, just the rumor, that you are producing also a cooking show that's set to come out on the Food Network soon. And you're a chef. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, chef is a loose term, for sure.
Oh, okay.
I would say food enthusiast.
Oh, I'm sure you're being modest.
So me and my creative partner, Rory, who helped me on Angler as well as other projects.
Worked together before.
Yeah,
Reliable.
We are exploring local restaurants. Yeah, and we're going to be highlighting their dishes and trying to emulate them at home and explore the hubris of trying to do that when you aren't a trained chef.
Okay.
And
that could be fun.
Most likely fail miserably, I would say. Yeah.
Interesting, but you never know. You might just get it right.
Maybe some triumphs, you know,
Excellent.
sure.
Now you're going to
Lots of
need
cheers.
people to eat the food. I'm guessing. Is that going to be just you, or are you going to have guests on the show?
Hopefully chefs and the owners of the restaurants come to see the work that we've done and put into it. But we are also thinking about special guests for sure. You know, if you're interested.
Just always looking out for a free meal here and there to explore. That sounds very interesting. I'm looking forward to that. I do love watching the Food Network. I pay for that channel.
Oh,
just to watch.
Look at you, as you should, as everyone should.
Oh yes, do not. Yeah, it's good. No pirating here. Now, you've been in the movie business for a few years now, but correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first one where you've produced, directed, and performed in.
And wrote.
And wrote. So you did almost basically everything.
Wow.
How did you manage to all that at once?
With difficulty. Yeah.
Imagine.
It was a huge undertaking, very stressful.
Okay.
But I just had an amazing crew.
That helps. Yeah.
And they were the best of the best. And I knew that I could trust them to kind of relinquish some of that vision and just let them run with it, because they really did see what I saw.
Oh, that's okay.
And
share the same vision.
That's so I could hop in between roles pretty seamlessly because I knew I could rely on my crew.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very helpful. Now, tell me a little bit of the genre. What are we sort of dealing with here? Is it a comedy?
It's a horror movie.
Okay.
Yes.
Different direction.
Sci-fi, yes.
Okay.
In a sense. It is a story about loss mainly and grief. And
we can all relate.
I wanted to look at how that process can be very isolating and can be something that, despite your best efforts, while you're in the process of grieving, can leave you very lonely. And in that loneliness, you can become vulnerable to emotional instability and further mental illness. And yeah, so Angler is kind of a look at that and how it manifests in a horrific way.
How do you manage now? Is this a horror as a genre? Is this something you've always been attracted to, like as a young child?
Yeah,
it's always sort of scared me, and I still haven't really watched any of the Freddy's and the Nightmares and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, it scared me too, and I think when I was growing up, I had a very overactive imagination, and that lended itself to a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of scary, being afraid. But I think I started watching horror as a means, like a cathartic thing, to try to overcome those fears. So if you could overcome the fear by watching it,
interesting. I should try that maybe.
You could try it.
I could face Chucky.
It might work. Yeah.
And his bride. I've been seeing that one. Seems a little funny.
Yeah. So I think for me, I never wanted to be strictly horror. I find that the best stories, the best horror movies are ones that are
something else,
a story in its own right, you know. Okay. Like Frankenstein, Mary Shelley. That's a love story with horror elements.
I guess it sort of is, isn't it?
It's there's these. So I think that's how you tell the most compelling story, is not just focusing on the scares, but telling a story with
having horror as an element. Awesome. We'll have a clip in a second, but first I want you to sort of set us up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe the clip that you have is of Haley, who is an astrophysicist who was part of a team that ended up putting an Angler probe out into deep space.
Seems reasonable.
It was lost, but now it's come back, and she's trying to communicate with it.
Okay, not always easy, I hear.
No. And after weeks of trying to communicate and decipher what it's saying back to her, all of a sudden it starts speaking in the voice of her husband, who has been catatonic for years. Okay. And so in this clip, she's finally hearing his voice again, and it's telling her to come to the clearing to find the Angler probe.
All right, sounds good. Awesome. Can let's roll that clip. Let's take a look.
Hey, sweetheart. I wish I could be there to help explain everything, Hales. I know you must be scared. I am too. But I need you to trust me. Go to our spot in the clearing. You'll see the Angler coming. I love you so much. Hurry.
Seems scary, but I might be able to handle it. I'm not sure. I mean, it's just a small clip. But the atmosphere, the music certainly has you in it, though.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
I'll give you a private screen.
Oh,
sure. Yeah, absolutely. But we'll be putting it into Blood in the Ice, which is a Toronto horror
I've heard about
festival.
that. Yes.
Yeah. So hopefully that'll be airing in November.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, looking forward to it, Maddie. Thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight.
Thank you so much.
Coming up next on the Late 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 Show, Wild Bill and his alligator family. Stay tuned.